with all that is going on. My goodness, most of us have worked in offices and we know what it's like when there's water cooler drama. And you ran, of course, the most high-profile office in the country. So let's start there. What do you think is going on behind the scenes right now?
Well, from all evidence, my educated guess would be that it's not a very fun place to work right now. There's a lot of leaking coming out. There's always leaks out of a White House. OK, that just happens from time to time. There's always people who are disgruntled with their access to the president. There's always folks in the White House who think they know better than the folks who are actually higher than they are on the totem pole. I get all of that. But you're seeing a dramatic increase in that and a willingness of some of the press to pick it up, which means they'll probably get some better sources and so forth. There's a lot of backstabbing. There's a lot of folks starting to look for blame. You know, who's responsible? Who is Jill Biden, Jill taking control of the campaign now? And if so, where does that leave other people in the White House? Who's making the decisions? It looks like it's a free-for-all right now in the White House. Doesn't surprise me that Jeff Zients, my successor as the chief of staff, called an all-staff meeting today, try and calm things down. That's the right thing to do. My question is, does he have the authority to do it? Be curious to know who is actually running the show in the White House right now, because it's not president, and that's fine. But I don't know who it is, and until they figure that out, they could have some serious difficulties.
Well, as we know, Biden is meeting with Democratic governors next hour. So if you were to guess, do you think the future Democratic nominee is in that room? Could it come to that?
Well, sure. I think there's probably a 50-50 chance that Joe Biden is the nominee, so he's going to be in that room. But certainly when both parties look to potential presidential candidates, they look to the governors. That makes sense. They also look to senators and so forth, but traditionally to the governors. So, yeah, I think the person who's going to be on the Democratic ticket is going to be in that room. I still think it's more likely than not to be Joe Biden for a variety of reasons. But certainly there's some good names in there. Gavin Newsom is going to be in the room. Jared Polis is a picture that you showed up there, the governor of Colorado. He's not getting nearly enough attention. Gretchen Whitmer's getting good attention and so forth, coming from a swing state and so forth. They've got a decent bench. Part of the difficulty they have is that it's very, very late in the game and very difficult to do what they're talking about doing, which is to replace a candidate. And it's nearly impossible to replace that candidate if that candidate, in this case, Joe Biden, doesn't want to go.
You know, after tonight's meeting, do you think those who are in that meeting are going to tell us what really happened in there? This is a closed meeting. We're not going to get to see it. Or will there be unified talking points? Is that how it's going to work?
No, they will never tell you to your face what actually happened. That's just not how Washington works. But yeah. I will be looking for the well-sourced stories on background after this is over, people who were in the room and so forth. No one's going to go on TV and say, I told Joe Biden he should leave. They're all going to walk out and pretty much give the party line. But the stories that will and Kelly Meyer could say that's how the building works, right? You did a great interview with her 5 minutes ago, that it's when the cameras turn off and those folks talk to reporters, that's when the real stories have come out.
That's right. And the White House press secretary today said that Biden is staying in the race. We've heard that repeatedly. But she also called Kamala Harris the future of the party. It's been about, we've got a clock on this, 140 hours since the debate, and almost all of the headlines aren't about Trump for once. He's been noticeably restrained. Is that a deliberate strategy? It sure seems like a smart one right now.
It's a great question. Harken back to 2020 during the first presidential debate when Joe Biden was struggling, not in the same way he was last week, but he was struggling. And Donald Trump interrupted him again and again and again, thus violating one of the primary rules of politics, which is when your opponent is digging a hole, you don't take away his or her shovel. And it may well be that lesson was learned, hard learned by Donald Trump, and he simply is learning to get out of the way while Joe Biden is having a difficult time, and he's had a miserable time. Keep in mind, it's gotten worse since the debate for Joe Biden, not better. We can talk about that later if you like. But it's also the possibility, Laura, that the Trump team has decided, you know what, maybe we don't want to beat up too much on Biden because we'd rather run against him. We think we can beat him. You show the polling data, and they just running against Kamala Harris. They like that idea, but Gavin Newsom is an unknown. Gretchen Whitmer is an unknown. So sometimes they may be better the devil you know than the one you don't.
What would you do at this point if you were back in the White House, if you were advising? You know, what's the play right now?
For Joe Biden or for Donald Trump?
For Joe Biden. Let's just play that card for a second.
Yeah, for Joe Biden, he's got some making up to do. Again, it's gotten worse since the debate. Now he's dealing with the fallout of how he's managed the debate. We've moved on from the debate, not moved on, but everybody knows the debate is what it is. But you've got stories now where they're trying to make up this idea that it was the world travel that impacted his ability. Maybe it was a cold that impacted his ability. Then he's going to do an ABC interview.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.